Okay, well, let's get started. Thanks to all of you that came on time, and we'll have a couple more drop by during the session. I'm Jordan Chankis. I'm from the Arc Westchester in New York, and this is our Take a Bite lunchtime where we have folks that develop software and hardware that help people with cognitive disabilities. The whole focus of the Arc Westchester and our efforts in technology is really to be a public education source on this extremely diverse and complicated field. And we're trying to see how personal technology, tablets, iPhones, all these portable devices, even the smart devices like the Alexa devices, how they can be used in everyday life to make people have a richer experience and be more independent. If you want to see some of our prior webinars on various subjects, just go to our website that's on the screen. We have this session, which is Take a Bite lunchtime. We do another session every Tuesday where we give actual lesson plans on how to take an app and use it in your day program or in your employment situation. And then every now and then we do a tech learning exchange where we talk to professionals in the field about issues such as funding assistive devices. A lot to check out. I hope you'll take a moment to look at it. We also are coming up, I know it's not even Christmas, not even Thanksgiving, but we're going to have our 4th annual Tech Conference for Cognition and Learning, March of next year, March 28th, at our partners, Mercy College, and it should be a great day. And we're focusing on lots and lots of breakout sessions where you can get practical ideas on what to do with technology. The registration for this is going to open at the end of November. We're going to have vendor exhibits, breakout sessions. We'll be doing a lot of app sharing, and also there'll be people there to answer your particular questions on how to use technology. And then finally, I urge everybody to go to the Coleman Institute for Cognitive Disabilities website. This is how we got involved in this field, through an initial grant through the Coleman Institute. And they have an effort where they're trying to say to everybody that people should have a right to digital technology, people with cognitive disabilities. It should be a right as much as a right under the ADA. And they have a petition, a declaration that you can sign there. Our hope is to get organizations and individuals to sign it so that someday we can go to the legislators and say, think again, the ADA needs to be amended to include the right to access to technology. Let's go on to our presentation for today from my friend Lois Brady from InnerVoice. She's going to do an absolutely fascinating introduction to a communication system that they have. And there we go. There's her desktop. It's all yours, Lois. Thanks.
All mine. I guess I better. And thank you so much for having me. This is truly a pleasure. I'm going to be talking about not just my app, InnerVoice, but I do want to talk about using technology in general. I am a speech language pathologist, assistive technology specialist, and an autism specialist. So you're going to hear me talk about a lot about autism. You can just switch that word in for, children with multiple disabilities or complex communication challenges. It's just that I use that a lot because that's where my specialty is. What I'm going to tell you today is going to fit everyone who needs or uses a communication device, high tech or low tech. First thing I want to say is, ever since the iPad came out, we have had kind of an explosion in communication. A lot of our students who we initially thought were maybe low functioning, low cognition, well, they're not. They're able to tell us things, show us things. It's been an amazing experience that I've seen. I work in 4 school districts in the regional center, so I get to look at many different kinds of students of every age, every ability, and this has been the tool that has really made a difference for us. So I just love this picture. It's kind of how I feel as I'm walking into a classroom or something. I go in like that, and the kids love it also. I have their attention. And then I want to tell you about this research on private thoughts. I start all of my presentations with this because to me it's one of the most powerful things that I carry around in my head day to day as I walk into to homes, to schools, to clinics, is this research that found that your own private thoughts, what you think in your head, actually affects the people you are working with. And they did a study. They had two rats. This is a rat study. And these rats were labeled. One was labeled low functioning, poor behavior, needs help. This rat is really not very smart. We're not going to expect a lot out of them. And then the second rat was, of course, high functioning, very quick, focused, creative. All these positive attributes were attached to this rat. So what they did is they brought in people to teach these two rats how to run through a maze. And the people were given these labels. The high functioning label was this rat, and the low functioning label was the other rat. And they were told, now go and teach these two rats how to run through the maze. And the most amazing thing happened was the high functioning rat, who was labeled high functioning, he performed twice as good as the low functioning rat. But the real twist here is the rats, they weren't high or low functioning, they were just plain rats. It was the people who that they were doing the experiment on. Could a thought placed in their head actually affect the way they interacted with the rat, and then cause the rat to either do well or do poorly? And it worked. The rat did well or poorly based on the label it was given. Now, I know in my daily workings, I see these labels all the time. They are still giving our children these labels. So that's the research I wanted to tell you. The research went on to duplicate itself both in classrooms and in the work environment. So the labels you're given as you walk in and start working with a student, the perceptions, we need to try to erase those. We need to try to treat every student with a clean slate and take all the labels away and really try to teach them things not based on a preconceived notion, but based on what a student needs to learn. So that's how I started all off. I hope that helps. And then here I put the slide in of all the research. So if anyone's interested, they can go back and look at it. But I did want to talk about some new research. This is what I think is very interesting. This is brand new research out there. And again, it's on autism, but we can assimilate it across different challenges. They found that it's not so much the material that needs to be simplified for our students. It's how and the tools that we use to present the material. So there's this thing called perceptual load, and we all have it. Just imagine you're watching TV and it's something you're interested in, and then someone from another room calls your name and you don't hear them. And they keep calling your name until they tap your shoulder and then you hear them. Well, that's perceptual load. Your hearing, your vision are all focused on one thing, and you really truly didn't hear someone in a different room. Now, if you take that and you times it by 5, by 10, by 20. Now you're working with someone who has sensory challenges. So it's really hard for these people with sensory challenges to attend to the things that we want them to attend to, because all these other distractions are in their environment. They hear your voice, but they are not able to pick out your voice as the thing that they need to attend to. Or they see the pictures you're showing them, but that picture may not be the thing that they're actually attending to. The takeaway from this research, and I really love this, is that the materials maybe should not be simplified for children, in particular with autism, but maybe what we really need to do is to give them more than one stimuli to look at and increase their perceptual load with relevant information, rather than just they have a lot of irrelevant information going on, and then we give them one little piece of relevant information and expect them to attend to it. We want to show them, we want to affect their hearing, their vision, what they see, as much as possible, and then they can learn. Now that concept is kind of a challenge. It took me a long time to get that in my head to what they were talking about, but I did want to present it. And as I go through the slides, I'll talk about it a little bit more and try to give some examples of what it actually means.
It's an interesting idea, because after the intervention is completed, they basically go out back into a world with lots and lots of input that's happening.
Correct. And the whole thought is to decrease the irrelevant, I'm having a hard time saying that, background noise, and increase the relevant information you're giving them. Well, the background noise, if you've ever walked into a classroom, you just, sometimes it's uncontrollable. You can't control the car going by, but what we can do is we can give them information that affects a lot of their senses and draw their attention to the thing we really want them learning from. Therefore, it does not need to be simplified. We just need to get their attention, capture their attention, and present it in a way that they can learn. That sounds a lot easier than it is. That's all we need to do is just present it.
Sure.
So I'm going to show you how to do that. First, I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the solutions that are out there. I got these 3 descriptions from apps that are on the market now, and these are the most popular apps. And as you can see, there's a list of conditions that the app will help with: autism, aphasia, Down syndrome, stroke, laryngectomy. And what I wanted to point out in this slide was people with autism have sensory and attentional challenges as well as communication challenges. People with cerebral palsy have muscular challenges. And to create an app and say that you can teach these 2 different types of folks in the exact same way, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, because kids with autism are having the perceptual load challenge. Someone with a stroke or a laryngectomy or cerebral palsy, they don't have the perceptual load challenges that kids with autism do. So we really need to be careful about the tools we're choosing, and make sure that they're very specific to the children or the adults that we want to help and support. That's what this slide was about. That's my soapbox. And I just want to show you these 3 young adults who I studied in depth. I'm like, how come some nonverbal people are successful and others, still have challenges? Well, these 3 nonverbal young adults have all written books. Some of them have written 3, 4, 5 books. Ito in Autism Land just wrote his 2nd book, and it's actually a fiction. And how do they do it? What are they doing? What makes them different than anyone else? And the whole idea is they've learned literacy. They've all had parents or someone in their life who has really not looked at them and said, oh my gosh, they're low functioning, but I'm going to teach my child to read and to write. And you can see Ito is using a keyboard, and Carly and Ito use iPads. And then there's a young man in Japan who uses just this very simple spelling board, but it is a spelling board. And again, I'm going to go back to the rats. Let's assume, if someone told you that this person was low functioning, you'd probably never try to teach them to spell or read or write. But we're going to assume that all of our students start out equally, and that they can all learn to read and write. And that is, I know it sounds boring. Literacy is not as exciting as, maybe some other things, some colorful, great pictures, but literacy is really a great foundational skill that all of our kids can use. So communication, number 1, that's what these iPads have really made it possible, is for us to communicate with our loved ones. And what apps do that for us? We have several different styles. I'm not only going to talk about mine, but I really do want to kind of call out all the different styles of apps there are out there and kind of just go through them a little bit. We have, of course, the grid styles. We're all very familiar with the grid style app. They have icons, they have pictures. You touch the picture, and you can either build a sentence or you can speak it right away. The picture will tell you what it is. And this style has been around, I believe, since the 60s. So when the iPads came out, it was really very exciting. We were able to take these grid style apps and then just put them on the iPad. Click and Talk, this is just simply a talking photo album. And these are cool because everyone probably already has one on their iPad. Sometimes we don't need to go get the expensive apps or the expensive equipment. Just use something you already have. So like if you're going to the fair, you're going to the zoo, you just take pictures, you narrate the pictures, and then you record into them. And they really create these really nice memories. And then when a student wants to talk about something, they'll just go back to the memory and you can talk about it. It also stimulates speech and language. It stimulates literacy too, because you never create these without the student being next to you and helping out as best they can with typing in the captions and or recording the narrative. Even if their speech is not that intelligible, you can say it first, such as, we went to the fair, and then the student repeats it after you in their best attempt. At least both voices are on there. And again, these are a dime a dozen. Some of them are free. They're excellent. I love them. And then we come to the solution I created, InnerVoice, because like I told you, I am a speech therapist. So I sat into hundreds of IEPs and I listened to what parents say. They're expensive. I can't get my child to use it at home. I just can't get them to use it. I can't get them to look at it. And I was just speaking with Jordan, and he says that's kind of a pervasive problem across the board, is we can't get our kids to use them at home or other than in school in a structured environment. So as I was writing, I actually wrote the book Apps for Autism. As I was writing this book, I noticed, well, what do the kids look at? You know, they're not looking at me. They're having a hard time looking at me, but they do look at their iPads intensely. And then on their iPads, they love looking at pictures of photos. They love looking at photos of their family, their friends, and just going through pictures. So I thought, what if I could put a picture, a talking picture, onto their communication device, and instead of the voice coming out of nowhere, I call it a disembodied voice, we actually gave them context. Now we're going back to perceptual load. Our students are having a hard time attending to auditory stimuli because they don't know where it's coming from and they don't know that it's important. But if we can show them that it's coming from a face, coming from a mouth, and not only show them the 3D animated avatar, these pictures will actually talk. We can show them that, but we can show them the words and the real pictures that are being spoken. Now that's something different. Now you're affecting their perceptual load with relevant information, with things they like to look at. You can put a picture of the student, of their parent. You can put a picture of SpongeBob in here. Whatever will get your child or your student looking at their device. Then they can say anything they want. These are completely customizable buttons. Of course, we have the general core vocabulary and expanded vocabulary. But in addition to that, this is a feature that I thought absolutely had to be, and it took me 3 years to get it embedded into my app. When you show a picture of, and I'm going to just skip down here, this one, somebody jumping on an app or an icon of jump on an app, we just assume that the student or the adult is looking at the action, when in fact they may be looking at the feet or the hair. So we're not even attending to the same things, yet I'm trying to teach you, I'm trying to show you something. I'm talking about an invisible action that's happening. The little girl's excited and this girl's jumping. Yet they may not be attending to that. They may be simply looking at the little girl who's excited with her teeth. So we're not talking about the same things, therefore no learning is going on. So I'm gonna go back to my app. So on InnerVoice, if you touch the word jump or jumping, you have the ability to put in a video. So you can actually see someone or something jumping. You can record a video. You can even put in a GIF. And those are the little action videos that loop around, and we all put them in our phones now. So now you can actually show actions and emotions other than static pictures. So once again, you've affected their perceptual load with relevant information. Instead of showing a static picture of somebody jumping and we don't know what they're attending to, we're actually going to show them an action or an emotion on their face. That helps them tune in their perceptual load into what you're actually trying to teach them. And I put the guy here with the yes, no buttons just simply to show that we can change the size and the shape of the layout to fit the abilities of the student you're working with.
It's so interesting when you're talking about this that it's humbling because you realize how much you assume the learner is actually understanding, which isn't really true.
And you only learn that after years of making that mistake and realizing, why isn't this otherwise very smart student learning what I'm teaching him. There's nothing wrong with him. I mean, he's learning daily routines and, you know, he's learning, but he's not learning what I'm teaching him. Why? It has to be me. And people don't want to admit it has to be me, but it has to be. So, okay, what am I doing wrong? I'm doing what they told me to do, flashcards. Oh my God, don't do flashcards. Put the flashcards away. I learned that the hard way. The kids don't learn on flashcards. What they learn to do is label the flashcards, and they still don't know the concept or the meaning of the word. They've learned to only label the flashcard. And I learned that with an apple and a little girl who learned to say apple from a flashcard. So I just assumed she knew what an apple was. So one day as we're eating lunch, she's trying to reach for the apple, and I'm like, oh my God, she knows this word. This is so cool. I'm going to get her to say apple. She wouldn't say it, and I didn't know why. And I had to go back and work that out myself and think, oh my God, she knows apple. Why wouldn't she call that an apple? And then that's like the first step into it's me. It's the way I'm teaching. They need to, in context with concrete things that they know, and then learn. Once they learn it, then I can take it to the more abstract, the flashcard or the word.
I remember working with my daughter when she was little. There was a picture of a wagon that was green, and I said, "What color is it?" Red. And then I realized that all the pictures she had seen on the computer programs I had a red wagon, despite the fact that green was right in front of her. So
yes,
she knew what the answer Daddy wanted was.
exactly, and maybe not even the concept, just the answer that you wanted.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have to really change. It's not getting through a stack of flashcards and taking data on that. That's important. It's, do they know the word and how to use it in the context of a situation? And we really need to be mindful of that and teach in context things that they need to know. I can't say enough about that. Put the flashcards down. Put them down. So, and on InnerVoice also, there's a little icon right to the right of the speech bubble, and it takes you directly to the keyboard with word prediction. That's super important to me because this is where I take all my students as quickly as possible, because the buttons are super limiting. They can only say the things that I've given them to say, but on the keyboard they can say anything they want to say. So you're going to ask me, oh my gosh, how do you get this student typing on the keyboard? You take his or her very favorite thing. I'm just going to pick Lego, and you turn on the keyboard and you say, you start out and you say, oh my gosh, look at this Lego. I want this Lego. How do I get the Lego on the keyboard? And you type out L-E-G, and then you help your student type out the very last O, and then you touch the boy's mouth and the boy says Lego, and you hand the Lego to the student. Now you've just put the word, the spoken word, and the item. You've just connected those three things, once again, affecting their perceptual load with relevant information. You have the item, you have the written word, and you have the spoken word. And on top of that, if it's a picture of the student talking to themselves, that's video self-modeling, and that's one of the most powerful evidence-based practices we can use. So all those things together, again, you've really given them so much information. And believe it or not, I've worked this with hundreds of students, and I do mean hundreds. I've worked with hundreds. They all learn to keyboard. They all learn to love the keyboard, and they never go back to the buttons. They play around on the keyboard a lot, and they goof around, and they make the avatar say all kinds of weird things, but then they hone it in, and they start using it. I've had kids in pre-kindergarten, kindergarten, all the way through the grades, and their teacher comes to me and says, oh my gosh, they magically started writing words the other day. And I was like, oh, there's no magic. But there is no magic. A lot of our kids are tuned to letters and words. They're all around us. They are in our environment. They're a staple in our world. Words are always there. Icons and abstract pictures are not. That's why I really love going towards the words and the real pictures, rather than sometimes the more confusing icons.
Does it help that it's a three-dimensional object versus a picture of, say, like an apple or a Lego?
Oh, absolutely. It helps because what I have is in my hand is a bucket of Legos and they want them. You have to
Mhm.
start with something you know they want and you have their attention. And I hand them one Lego. They think they're going to get the bucket, but they actually get one. So in order to get two, they have to type Lego again. But by the fifth Lego, Jordan, they're typing Lego all by themselves.
Amazing.
And then once they do that, I add on a core word like want Lego. Okay, now they learn two words in one session. It's not uncommon, and they never forget because a lot of my students, I move around a lot and they move around a lot. So I miss a couple years and then I come back to them and see them maybe in high school and they still have that skill because it was a relevant skill to them. Now, no one in those 2 years may have like worked on it or helped them develop it anymore because they had the perception that they were probably low functioning, but they're not. So I try to show the parents, I try to show everyone in the environment, just, get them to the keyboard. But there's a really overwhelming attitude out there is that our kid, why show them the keyboard? You're just going to confuse them. And I've heard that so many times. But if you do it right, you don't confuse them and they really love to do it. And again, if you look around your environment right now, I guarantee you there's words there, lots of them. They're hooked into them already.
And it's making them less different than their peers too, because the peers are using keyboarding.
Exactly. Now they're just like everyone else. And believe me, they really get to be very quick on the keyboard and they enjoy it. And then it's like almost a self-learning tool. Once you open that little door, they just go into it. They like it. There's not a struggle. They're happy. It's like, oh my gosh, you taught me something and I can do it. Lots of times I walk in and I see them playing on the keyboards. So it's, oh my goodness, this is great. So they're not opposed to learning. No one's just showed them the correct way. Again, back to the flashcards and why learn a stack of flashcards? What is that going to do to me? I learned the flashcards so I get the chip at the end. Well, and I did that too. I did that too. That's what we were taught to do. So, okay, so let's get back to, this is the video self-modeling I was talking about. This is actually a young man who took a picture of himself. And I just kind of put this in there so that you would see what that kind of looked like when you put in a picture of yourself. So he was right up here. I think he was playing with the emotions that day. And then you can put in, I chose this slide so that you can see all the different kinds of characters you can add. As long as their mouth is closed and they're kind of giving you a front face to the camera, not a side view. You have to be able to see their eyes and their mouth, but you can put in any character you want. Have a lot of fun with it. You can change the voice, male or female, and then you adjust pitch and rate, and then how much you want the mouth to move. We also have the ability to show emotions. We can make our avatars sad, happy, angry, and neutral. And this is actually from a research study we did from the National Science Foundation that showed how can we best portray emotions on computer-mediated communication. And, the study, the results were we have to show both the face and give verbal prosody or intonations to the emotions. So when you're sad, you're going to talk a little bit high-pitched and you're going to draw out your vowels. And when you're happy, you're going to get a little bit high-pitched, but it's going to be faster and choppier. So we figured out all those little things and we put them into our app. And if you notice down the side of the app, you'll see these icons. So you can make your icons look sad, happy, or angry with the vocal intonations. And here's a little guy who was working on it. So he was looking at his face change and he was actually mirroring the changes in the face from the iPad. Again, that speaks specifically to our kids on the spectrum who have real challenges in identifying and displaying emotions. So if they can see their self make these kinds of emotions, and then we can talk about it, like when you're happy, your mouth, corners of your mouth go up and your eyebrows go up, and that's called a smile. So there is emotions on InnerVoice also. Again, from parent pain points, listening to parents in IEPs, listening to teachers, just years and years of working in the community. I've already talked about actions and emotions, how we really need to see the action and the emotion because again, we don't know what our students are attending to. And again, I've had so many stories where my students are looking at the little girl's teeth and I don't know it. Or they're looking at this little girl's hair, how it kind of like flips up as she's jumping. They don't see the invisible action of jump or leap or whatever you're teaching them. InnerVoice also has the ability to color code. And this is just kind of a standard staple on all of your devices. So in ours, you can pick a picture, you can pick a video, and then you can color code it. And that just helps the students who are learning grammar kind of put their grammar together a little bit easier. And we have the ability to capture a phrase history. So those of you who take data, speech therapists who have to count number of words said, it's called a 50-word language sample. This is kind of, you can see the day, you can see what emotion they said it with, and you can see the words they said. And did they use punctuation? So it's just a way to kind of keep track of your students and how they're doing over time. Backup and restore. I learned this one the hard way, Jordan. I had a parent call me and say, oh my God, my iPad just crashed. We had spent 2 hours working on customization and I can't get it back. Oh. And I simply, I didn't know what to say. I said I was sorry. And then I proceeded to get a string of why didn't you know? And so the next thing I did was email the developer, and we got in backup and restore. It's really important that you back up and restore because people do spend a lot of time putting in different faces, putting in different words, creating custom libraries, and to lose those is really heartbreaking.
Can your InnerVoice be used by several different people with different libraries on the same device?
Absolutely. There is a spot where it's kind of an open-ended, it's called My Words. Mm-hmm. And what I typically do is for each student I'm working with, I will create a folder. That's their folder. And they go in and they have all their particular words. The embedded core vocabulary and expanded core vocabulary, I'm going to need another drink of water here in a minute. It's just that. It's just core vocabulary mixed with some of the fringe words that are more common to most people. I can't create custom vocabularies that fit everybody. What I can do is give them core words. Everyone uses the core words. And I have a picture of those. And here's some of the core words. These comprise just about 80% of our vocabulary. And then the fringe words would be words that are particular to the student, the person, their special interests, things that they like and don't like. Those are the words I can't program for them. I can only take a guess based on the people I have worked with. So anyway, that's what I am talking about when I say core words. I know that's a little bit of a new phrase. Yes, bottom line is to answer your question. That was a long-winded answer to a short question. Huh? Yes, you can go in and create very specific libraries. Or if you're only using it for one student, you can just take the libraries that are already there and modify them to fit. Okay. But it's never really designed to, I can't design it, and I tried, believe me, I tried, but I really can't design it to fit each and every student. But here's what's coming next is we did get a grant from Microsoft to use their artificial intelligence into InnerVoice. So we can make that really easy right now, and I'm going to show you how. I do have a picture of the front page. Okay, so the basic words, everyday words, and my words. So the my words is where you'd put your own vocabulary. But we're adding several components of artificial intelligence now, and one of them is this one down here, visual language. That's visual artificial intelligence. And what this is going to do, it's going to, instead of like reading that very long, ugly paragraph, I'm going to show you. You take a picture, you click individual intelligence, you take a picture of whatever it is in the environment. Artificial intelligence will search that picture, define it, automatically put it in the speech bubble, and then the avatar will say it. So we've made that part really easy. And that's kind of almost like someone would learn developmentally. You see something, you attend to it, somebody describes it, and somebody says it to you. So this is like artificial intelligence that takes you along a developmental pattern. And it's super cool. So we're just now putting that in. artificial intelligence is in its infancy, so sometimes it recognizes things a little bit wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but for the most part, it gets it right. And the kids are having fun with it. It'll be available about a month because we're still doing our beta testing and making sure there's no bugs. But the second thing that'll do for parents is you take that same image and it automatically programs the name of the button and what the button's going to
Wow.
say, touch it. So now it's easy to program your device. We're really trying to take away those pain points that I hear from parents that, oh my gosh, it's too complicated. And they really are. I can't program most of them. It really is a huge learning curve every time I pick up, I'm not gonna say any names, but one of the apps that are very popular right now, I pick it up and it's like, oh no, I can't, it's gonna be half an hour before I can get one button in. So we really, with artificial intelligence, are looking to alleviate that. So this is actually a picture of our editing page. And let's say it wasn't sitting on a table, it was sitting on a chair. So you can just go here and take that away and say chair.
I was amazed recently when I upgraded Office to the newest version. They have the all text coming in automatically, so that if you have a
Oh,
picture there, it automatically, and you have to correct it every now and then. Like you said,
yeah.
it's still at an early stage, but what a great thing to, you don't have to worry about doing all your all texting and letting people know what that's a picture of a banana. So
Isn't that amazing?
yeah, it's
Don't
wonderful.
you? Yeah, that's kind of what we're trying to, because for years, our kids who had challenges got all the old equipment.
Absolutely.
After the general ed kids got done using it, it got filtered down to the special needs kids. That's just the way it was. So the aim of my company, of me in particular, is to take that model and flip it. We're going to make technology for our special needs kids so darn cool that everyone's going to want to use this. And I think artificial intelligence is what's really going to bring that to the forefront. Put this kind of really neat stuff in there. Everyone's going to want to take a picture of their shoe and then see what the avatar calls it, whether it's right or wrong. For the most part, it's right. It's got, I'm going to say, about an 80% accuracy level. And interesting you would mention Alexa, because we are going to take, our next step is taking that whole concept of Alexa. You're going to be able to implant this avatar. She is going to be your Alexa, or in the case of Microsoft, it will be Cortana, and you'll be able to ask her questions and she will answer you. So now you have, again, we're affecting with relevant information. You'll see the words in the yellow bubble and she will speak the words. So you have something to attend to as you're talking. A face, a real face. And again, this kind of builds a bridge to students, particularly with autism, who don't really look at someone's face as they talk. They have a hard time looking at people. So looking at this avatar will build that bridge. Oh, I also want to point out for anyone else out there who has an idea of how to use artificial intelligence, this grant that we got is still open. So if you look down at the bottom here, you'll see the link. That is an open grant. So if you have an idea, just go and apply. It's really, really cool. And again, it's in its infancy, and Microsoft has made these really cool artificial intelligence APIs, services, bundles, I guess, that you can kind of, and this is going to be super simplistic because it's not that easy, but essentially plug into your stuff. Again, that plug-in takes months. But that's what happens. So again,
yeah, I will, because I've been promoting various apps over a long period of time, but then I say to myself, well, that's great, but somebody still has to know that they have to press the calming app to de-escalate their emotions, and
yeah.
there should be that Cortana that comes in and say, hey, I see that you're getting a little, antsy here. Why don't you just kind of do some deep breathing? That overall AI that could kind of lead you through life.
And now that you say that, Jordan, you can just put that right on your wrist, and as soon as your pulse went up, that would trigger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's so important. We have a young woman that she's doing great at her job now, but until she got an Apple Watch, she would have meltdowns just from the stress of the pace of the job she was doing. But now she has a calming app on her iWatch, and it's made the difference between her having employment and being in a day program. So
Right, right. And sometimes just that haptic sensation, the little vibration that the watch gives, is enough to, I've used it for kids who are in a classroom and I can see them start to rock in their chair and start to get a little anxious or frustrated or not know what's going on. And I would send a message to the watch, and this is just a trial base, this is just me goofing around, send a message to the watch, and then the watch buzzes and gives that little kind of a vibration. That's enough to change the person's mind, get to look at his wrist, and that settles him down. And the idea of whatever was frustrating him kind of alleviates a little bit. So those are all huge areas to look into. I mean, it's so great, this new technology for our students with multiple disabilities. It's just excellent. We're going to be able to help them.
It's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time in the industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all right. You only have 60 slides.
That's okay. I'm gonna hit the high points.
Okay.
I want to show you this one. You don't have to read it. I'm going to tell you that this is in 2018. This is an actual speech therapist in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm just wanted to point out how this idea is still really ingrained into our heads, that they don't even want to start their kids spelling. Maybe the older kids, but not all of them. So we really need to work on that. We have to. I really believe that is such a old thought. We need to get rid of it. I don't know a better way to say it. That wasn't very eloquent, but sorry. And I just want to point out this gentleman did a case study in his classroom where he quite literally took away all of the ambiguous symbols and icons and replaced them with pictures. And again, in red, it shows most people told him that he can't do that, it'll never work. And they suggested that he use pictures to communicate and nothing more. Well, he didn't listen to him. He took away all the pictures unless they were nouns and replaced everything else with words, text to speech, and word prediction. And it worked. The kids learned not only how to communicate, but the important skill of literacy. I look at this and I'm right now putting in grants to duplicate this in a more formal study. I just thought it was amazing that this man actually did it in his classroom. Now let me see. This picture here, these are some of the icons we actually use with our kids. I don't know if you can see this one, a man in a bathtub getting a hand. It's ambiguous. I can't tell what it meant. And when someone told me what it meant, help, I went back and I'm like, it blew me away. And the word can, it's like, how can you compare this can to the can you would use in a sentence like I can walk? You can't compare them. They're just ambiguous. My favorite one, of course, is this one, which actually means the word but. You can't do that to a kid on the spectrum, and I wouldn't do that to anyone who's just learning languages or learning how to communicate. Here's another set of symbols. I had a hard time connecting which symbol meant which word. And I started looking at this. I'm like, why would I teach them like this word meant correct? And that's what means correct. And then I'd have to go back and say, oh yeah, but this word means correct too. But let's forget about this because that doesn't really mean correct. This really means correct. So I started thinking, this is teach them the word. They're capable. They're visual. Our kids are visual. It's amazing. They can learn the words. That's, again, my soapbox. We've already went through the core words. Super important to learn.
I think it's also a problem for the person that's supporting the individual. They have to learn all that crazy symbology. Yeah.
Right. Right. And I'm going to go back to it. You will never see this out in the community.
Never.
They're not our symbols that we use in the community. It's
even that car is is that a car?
Right. You know what that's supposed to represent, Jordan?
I have no idea.
Past.
The past. Ay, they.
But not the past like time-wise, just moving past. Like I'm walking past. So do you see? Now do you see why we're confusing our students? It's not concrete. We're giving them so much irrelevant information. So providing pictures is like increasing their perceptual load to the irrelevant information. We really need to decrease all that. Just get it out of there. And here we are adults. Well, we see that. Oh my God, that's cute. Yeah, past. Or this one meaning whole. Well, of course I know that's a whole circle. Well, that makes sense to me. But to someone who's just now learning the word whole and circle and all those kinds of concepts and vocabulary, that looks like a black circle.
Right.
Oh, wait, no, you're telling me it's whole. Okay. Well, what does whole mean? Like a hole in the ground or a whole piece of something? So once
Even
again, there's multiple
that
meanings.
delta there for tomorrow, yellow symbol.
Oh, yeah.
I think that means play because that's on a VCR, where
Oh, yes. Yeah. We really need to take a serious look. And for some kids, this is fine. I'm not saying for everybody. I'm talking about our kids that have challenges with sensory and communication. If
Mhm.
we're just teaching them communication and they have sensory challenges on top of it, and they have multiple things going on, let's just keep it concrete and easy for them. Now, there's some kids who only have like motor challenges. That's great. They get this. They really do get it. They think it's, there's no problem here with multiple meaning or abstraction. You got to match. That's why I said in the beginning, you cannot have all those different disabilities covered by one tool. You have to really match the tool to the disability or the challenges that the child, the student is having. And these are the things, this is how we match it. Cerebral palsy could probably do this, no problem. Autism, no way. So we got to take a good look at that. And I don't think we're doing that currently. I'm not going to be able to hit all the strategies in 3 minutes, but do look at them. These are really great teaching strategies. Again, my kids know the names of all these flashcards. They can't talk to me. So let's put the flashcards away, teaching context. And I have to say this, Jordan, I'll end on this one because I only have 3 minutes. This is a pet peeve of mine. This little guy here, smiling, that doesn't mean yes. This is
Right.
happy. What if I told you, did your cat get hit by a car today?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm
So,
very happy about that. Yeah.
right. Did you not get the raise today? Did they cut your hair too short? All those things. This is happy and this is sad. This is yes and this is no. So again, this is like totally confusing some kids. Now, me and you know that most of the time, yes is happy. Do you want ice cream? Yes. Do you want a cookie? Yes. Most of the time it's happy, and most of the time being denied something is sad. And we get that, and some kids get that. Not all of them do. So teaching these two concepts together can be really detrimental.
And
Um,
and the gradation isn't there at all. Like
right.
you can be satisfied, not necessarily happy, but you're satisfied.
Right. And again, if there's auditory processing challenges, you see this word here, yes or no? That's what they're hearing. I mean,
Yeah.
you say, do
Yes or
you
no.
want water, yes or no? And the kids are just hearing one word. So again, some kids can hear that, and some kids have no auditory processing challenges, and
Yeah.
that's okay. But those kids who do, that really needs, we got to make it easy for them to be right. And not everything's a challenge, not everything is a trial. Sometimes we're just teaching, and we got to make it easy, and we got to let them understand what yes means. And maybe sometimes it means only working on yes for a couple days, and then only working on no for a couple days, and then we put them together. But the whole idea is to make it easy to learn and
Right.
not all a challenge. So I think I will end on that one. I'm just going through all the great things here, but that's it.
It's a wonderful slide deck. So I really encourage anybody that's listening to this to take a look at it because tremendous resources in it. And let me just ask you one final question of curiosity, and this bugs me sometimes because I love going to libraries. But if I'm in a community and I'm trying to find the library, I'll see a picture of a book on a sign. And I'm saying, if I'm going to a library, can't you spell library on that too? I- it just doesn't seem right, And my daughter and some of my friends that are on this call, at 26, we were waiting for a van to pick her up, and across from our house was a stop sign. And it was the first time that she spelled something in 26 years, but she said STOP, stop. And I thought that was great, because she associates the letters with the symbol. I would encourage everybody to, if you're making signs for everybody, throw a couple of letters on there too.
Throw some letters on it. Take the ambiguity away. If you don't know what it is without the word, they're not going to. Quite literally, that's how I came about all this. Is I was looking at some board maker sentence strips, and a piece of paper just happened to cover the words. So I didn't know what the pictures were. And I'm looking at it thinking, I don't know what that is. What does that mean? I don't know what it is. How am I teaching my kids this? And I don't know what it is without the words. So,
And it's something that I know, having looked at so many apps, that sometimes even if somebody has an actual picture there, it's not always the best, it's not the most easy thing to understand what that picture is showing. So,
correct.
the letters underneath it certainly would have clarified an awful lot of like matching games and, that are just very confusing. Anyway, you're fantastic. You're great.
Thank you.
I think you should just be a little bit nervous because I'm probably going to ask you to come back again in the future because you've
Oh,
only
that'd be
touched
great.
the tip of the iceberg with all
Maybe
this.
the second part of the
Yeah. Is InnerVoice now available on an app store now or?
InnerVoice is available on the App Store. You can download it when artificial intelligence comes out in about a month. It will just be an update, so whoever has it will get it in an update.
Okay.
Again, we're beta testing it right now just to make sure that it does what we think it's going to do. We can all sit up in our office and say, well, I think they're going to love it. And
Sure. You'll never lose that vocabulary. Don't worry about backing it up. So.
right.
Oh, you've been great. Thank you so much for your time. I realize
Okay.
it's precious, so I really appreciate it. And I thank everybody that was part of the call. And Lois, thanks so much again for all your work.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.